Let's see what this man thinks.
Hello, friends. HPC Podcast back at you. Kyle Kittleberger, Brandon Rubio, Matt Schwartz. I'm Kevin Custard. Round robin in the books. Qualifier in the books. It's been a busy, about a week and a couple days for the return of the NHL, and we got a lot to talk about, gentlemen. How we feeling tonight?
Never better. Pretty good for one reason. The weekly picks was pretty good for me, but my predictions for the series.
I've got a theory on that. Check back in with me later.
Yeah, we'll check in on that theory later. But I was pretty piss poor on the predictions for the series. So.
Same. I was right there with you. And the hockey overall, it's been unbelievable. Obviously, having wall-to-wall hockey to watch every day. A little upset about obviously our local boys and their very pathetic showing, but overall, I mean, I'm glad that hockey's back, and now the real first round starting, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, nothing sucks more than when it's playoff time and your team's not in it.
Yeah.
So now we're at like the real start of the playoffs, and the Pens aren't in it, and that really blows.
And especially because, we went 5 months without any hockey, and then all of a sudden we're like, all right, it's back. Some playoff games. This is going to be great. And it was over in a week.
Yeah, and I saw a tweet. It's so NHL that the playoffs exclude Matthews, McDavid, and Crosby.
Yeah.
You can't write that shit.
Yeah.
You really can't.
I think the only thing shorter and more disappointing is Kyle's sex life.
It's not true. It's not.
You've been talking to his wife?
We enjoyed the game over your place on Friday, so we have been chatting.
Yeah.
That was a hard game to enjoy. That game
It was a
before.
boring ass game.
I mean, I guess we might as well, boys. We're just going to start right with the Pittsburgh series, right? I mean,
Might as well. Let's just get it out.
We're already there.
Yeah.
4 games to the Montreal Canadiens. We didn't even force a game 5.
No.
I mean,
I don't know if anybody saw Mark Madden's quote, but he's like the biggest upset in NHL history. The worst loss and biggest upset. He's like, there's never been a 24 seed before. Number one.
fact.
Yeah. I mean, the Canadians had 3 more points than the Sabres and the Devils when the season came to an end.
Yeah.
And they had played 2 more games.
And 7 games under 500, I think. If you,
it was like 31-31 and 7 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you give that team just a little bit of life and an opportunity, and all they got to do is win 3 games, and anything, I guess, is possible when you have Carey Price in net. He was really the star of the series, in my opinion. He 1.67 goals against average, .947 save percentage. The Penguins scored 8 goals in 4 games, and 1 was an empty netter.
No,
so they
that's
scored
not gonna do it.
7 goals in 4 games against a team like that. And they had a lot of shots. It wasn't lack of shots on net, lack of traffic in front of Price, but he really shined.
Yeah, he was good, and it was something I actually read before the qualifying round started and stuff. The old quote that goalies can steal games and steal playoff series, and this guy was saying that's actually not true. They don't steal games; they steal periods. Goalies can steal periods. It's up to the rest of the team to go out there and turn that into a win. And I think a lot of that held true for Price in Montreal, because think about Game 1 when the Pens actually came out on fire that first 10 minutes, and they were just under siege, but all that pressure, no goals. Montreal gets the first one, and all of a sudden they're up because Price was able to steal them that period. And I think that was kind of a story throughout, where when you would see these surges from the Pens, they wouldn't be able to capitalize, and Montreal would finally be able to counterattack and get one back themselves.
I mean, people, I think, expected Price to be good, but for the Pens to only score 8 goals in 4 games, given the firepower, that was disappointing. But for me, I would say the biggest disappointment watching was just kind of the lack of desperation. Game
Agreed.
4, I mean, 3rd period, we're down by 1. And aside from Sid and Hornquist, got to give credit to Hornquist. He played a great Game 4.
Yeah.
And was starting to get
No
minutes
doubt.
on the first line. But there was really no desperation at all, that this was on the line. Meanwhile, you had Jason Spezza, a guy who maybe dropped the mitts once in his career, who's dropping the gloves in Game 4 of the Toronto Blue
Dustin
Jackets
Williams
game.
dropped him in Game 1, I think.
Right? I mean, I don't know. Not a lot of fight. Little disappointing on that front. It's one thing, sometimes you just go down, you're creating all this offense, and the hockey gods are not smiling that day. You're hitting posts, you're missing the net. This one was kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
A little embarrassing, a little disappointing at minimum.
And it is funny to think about how close the games actually were throughout and how this could have very easily swung the other way.
Yeah.
Because I was saying after Game 4, think about when Crosby had that clapper from the middle of the slot.
Off the crossbar?
Off the crossbar. If that goes in, I think they hold on and probably win that game because Jari was playing great.
Yeah.
And they probably shut it down the rest of the way. And who knows in a Game 5 after that. But it goes out, Montreal gets it, and that's it.
In Game 3, there were tons of chances for the Penguins to get that fourth goal when they were up 3-1.
Or maybe you don't blow a 3-1 lead. That's another way.
I mean, that too, but, 4-1.
No, I get what you're saying.
I think it shows you how close the talent gap is in the NHL. Even though everyone knew the Pens were the better team, like, let's be honest, everyone is still in the NHL. They're still professional hockey players, and they're prideful, no doubt about it. And I think Mike Sullivan got completely outcoached. That's something you guys haven't brought up yet, that Jari needed to be in there quicker than Game 4. I think he needed to make way more adjustments. Some of the lineup decisions, me and you talked about this on game day, that we both watched every inter-squad scrimmage and the exhibition game. And not once did they use the power play configuration that they came out in Game 1, which didn't include Hornquist, which means he's not in front of the net disturbing Carey Price.
Right.
And then after the game, Mike Sullivan's got the balls to go, we just needed some better net front presence. Well, fucking put Hornquist on the power play and put him on the first line with Crosby instead of Connor Sheary, who is, what's a good comparison for Sheary? Someone that looks kind of good but doesn't do shit. Insert your clever little analogy here.
My brother will send me gifs of leprechauns. He always says that he's so easy to hit off the puck.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of respect for the chemistry I guess he has with Sid, but not strong on the puck.
And Patrick Marleau needed to be out of the goddamn lineup. I don't care if he's got that veteran established. This is with another team. Okay, so what? You've got guys that deserve to be in the lineup. You got to make that change. He didn't do shit.
I mean, I hear you, but we're talking about a guy that got third, fourth line minutes. I look at a guy like Gino, who had 0 goals in the series.
Yeah.
He did lead the team in shots. He had 21 shots, he led the team in
Basil.
scoring opportunities. Schultz, Jack Johnson, Patty Marleau, -4, led the team. Some guys on the Canadians that I didn't know about. I was impressed with Ben Chiarot. I thought he was a strong performer in the series in this. Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
Yeah.
20 years old. Looks like he's just got out of high school. 3rd overall pick in 2018. He had 2 goals, 2 big goals.
Rumor had it he had his first pube during the playing series. Good for him.
But a Finnish
You didn't tell him about my pubes, did you?
6'2", 200 pounds, impressive player, and all the confidence that he's going to get from this series and this playoff experience. Montreal's season went from a terrible disappointment to a huge success in the matter of 4 games.
Right about that.
One final comment I would like to add into speaking to your kind of maybe being out coached. As much as I'm a Sullivan fan, Marleau, whether he's in or out of the lineup, I can hear that argument. But I thought that fourth line was getting way too much ice time, in my opinion. That Marleau line, he was out there quite a bit.
Well, that's the third.
And wait, I thought the Bluger line was.
That's the fourth.
Okay.
Technically, if you look at the paper.
Regardless. I thought he was out there a little too much, especially Game 4 in the 3rd period. Yeah. And he looked like he was hauling a goddamn trailer behind him. And I'm a huge Marleau
fan. There's
fan.
like 2 minutes left and fucking Marleau's on the ice.
Someone get him a Valium or something before he bursts apart.
Give me my bottle of wine.
Yeah, there's way more that can be said, but let's just move it on. Bad day for the Guinos. Congrats to Montreal.
Yeah.
Enjoy being swept by the Flyers.
They earned it.
All right, do we want to stay in the East or do we want
let's do
let's just do this.
All right, Hurricanes, Rangers. Where did we land on predictions there, boys? I know this was the one series in the East I predicted correctly. I did have the Hurricanes.
Same for me. I went
Hurricanes.
Me too. This was my lock of the East. And the Hurricanes.
The Pens were your
lock of the East for sure.
Oh, were they? I don't think so. I think this was my second lock of the East.
We're going to check
Vancouver.
I feel like it was the Pens.
Either way, the Hurricanes along with Vancouver, have been the most impressive teams I've seen. They looked awesome.
They did.
I'd agree with
Aho, Svechnikov, and not just
Studs.
individual play, the team, the cohesive team unit. They gave up only 4 goals in this series in 3 games, and they look like they're clicking on all cylinders at the right time.
Yeah, and especially the fact that they didn't even have Dougie Hamilton or Pesci, and they still were able to lock down the Rangers,
Joe
who were
Pesci?
pretty good. Yeah, Joe Pesci. You wouldn't think it, but he's a pretty good D-man.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Am I a defenseman? Huh? Do I come here stopping the goals?
Hey, you want to take me on one-on-one?
But without
Like
those
Mike
two guys,
Tyson, I don't know.
they were, yeah, either way, they're in that same vein.
Look, I'll work on it.
But they were very impressive in, shutting down what was a good offensive Rangers team. Panarin, Zibanejad really didn't do that much. And they even had the balls to play James Reimer in their 3rd game. He played great. Ridiculous save that he made with his blocker diving across.
That was.
Right after, I think it was Vatanen was laying across the goal line and made like a stop with his shoulder. Like, that's the type of buy-in you see from Carolina. And I think it's going to serve them really well. They could go on a run.
I could definitely see them going on a run. It would be a very interesting series for them against Boston. I will say, having the opportunity to watch a little bit more of them this play-in, Aho, I mean, I was already a fan of his offensive ability. Did not realize how responsible he is in the D end, and also just hard on the puck, like creating a lot of offense from first initiating that turnover, creating that turnover, and getting the puck up ice. He is a pretty special player. And I'd like to see them go on a run. I feel like Rod Brindamore, like we talked before, Rod the Bod, he's got these guys just bought in. They do have, though, a pretty hefty matchup ahead of them.
Yeah, but they're playing Boston, who look like shit so far in the round robin.
This is true. This is true.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, Carolina looks impressive, and kudos to them on a wipe-up series. They got to be feeling good about themselves.
I have to say, tough for the Rangers. That's probably the last time you'll see Henrik Lundqvist in a Rangers uniform. And he didn't play that bad, but he didn't steal the game the way that the Rangers goalie needed. Like, for them to have a chance, they needed Shesterkin to be healthy and probably really steal it for him. And unfortunately, Lundqvist just didn't have it in him anymore.
Yeah, I agree with Matt that said, like, when I watched Carolina, I was like, damn, I am impressed with how they look, and they just were on a different level than New York the entire series. Deserved to win it as quickly as they did. The Rangers looked, about as effective as a loose stool most of the series, and just in desperation for most of it. And it sucks because, like you said, Lundqvist deserved better in front of him because he didn't play awful. But they deserve to lose that series quickly. So
Great pickup by Carolina getting Trocheck, the Pittsburgh kid.
He looks solid.
He's on their first power play. He's on their first penalty kill. He gets
And I think he's
tons
third
of
line
ice.
right now, though. But still, what a guy to have in your
he's great.
third line.
Yeah.
But yeah, the sweep. But on to so gentlemen, Islanders Panthers, another one. Man, I knew it was going to be a pretty boring series, and thanks to the Islanders' typical play. But 3-1 Islanders, only taking it 4 games from Florida. Thoughts?
I tell you what, it kind of went the way you thought it would, looking at how the Islanders have played last year under Barry Trotz since they've had him. Just shut down hockey, going to smother you. Good luck scoring a couple goals, and when they get up a couple, or at least get up any amount of goals, they're going to shut you down, and it's going to be tough to mount any kind of comeback. I agree that really impressed with J.G. Pajot, and that great pickup at the trade deadline, and if you wondered why they quickly signed him to a long-term deal, that's why. But the Islanders looked impressive, but at the same time, the Panthers just no punch, and Bobrovsky again can't come up in the big moments.
Well, my brother, who's an ex-goaltender, is absolutely convinced that Bobrovsky is signed out. He's checked out. He said he signed his big ticket. He's like, this guy isn't going to be shit the rest of his career. Now, I don't agree with that, but he's not off to a hot start down in Florida. Hasn't been good. Wasn't good to start the regular season. There were some softies in this series against him again. Like, just not good goals to give up.
Game 4, that one on the goal line,
man.
backhander that hits you on the inside of the leg, like that, it just can't go in.
Yeah, the
There's
$10
no
million
excuse for that to go.
goalie can't let that in.
Was that their opening goal too, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken?
that was the opening goal.
Can't have it.
And yeah, I think you're right, Cuss, that the biggest takeaway I had was just how uninspired and uninterested the Panthers looked, which really surprised me because I thought with Quenneville there, he would really have those guys like locked in, playing a good system. And we had talked about on the last podcast that I thought it would be, two well-prepared teams with really accomplished coaches. And instead it just looked like the Islanders dialed in under Trotz, and Quenneville and the Panthers are like, all right, so when's this over? When do we get to go back to Florida and leave this bubble that we're living in?
Get COVID.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine these guys that went in. I mean, how many swabs have they had up their noses the past couple weeks to get into this bubble? All the bullshit, and then to be gone after 3, 4, 5 games. That would grind my gears as a player if I'm one of these guys going home.
I'd be looking forward to getting on the golf course and getting out of that shitty ass bubble back home. Nonetheless, probably the most exciting series.
I thought it was the best series of the playoffs.
Yeah, the Leafs and the Jackets had pretty much everything you want. Went 5 games. Columbus won 3-0 in Game 5 last night to win the series. I think the most noteworthy thing was the Leafs' amazing come-from-behind win in Game 4.
Awesome.
Down 3-0 with a little over 4 minutes to go in the game. They score three goals. I think the last one was with 20-some seconds to go in the game.
Yep.
Zach
Force
Hyman.
overtime, and then Matthews scores on a power play goal on a questionable call against Foligno. But nonetheless, Columbus pulls off the upset. They were the 9 seed against the 8 seed. And what do you guys think? I think Columbus looked awesome, honestly. The Leafs rely so much on their power play. It looked like 5-on-5. Columbus was definitely the better team. They're deep on that back end. And do they have both their goalies play?
Columbus?
Yeah.
Because Merzlikins got hurt in
Well,
game
first
4.
Korpisalo started,
right.
got pulled. Merzlikins came in, played great, and then got hurt after Game 4. So Korpisalo was back in for Game 5, and he gets a shutout.
Yeah. Nice little depth you have in net there.
Right.
I don't know why I thought this series was going to be so easy for Toronto. I should know better with a Tortorella Columbus Blue Jackets. They're just a pain in people's ass, They played really strong, really hard on the puck. I will say after Game 4, I was a little worried when they let up 3 goals in that last 3 minutes and lost the game. But they've got a solid squad, and they just play. You can tell they are all playing within and buying into their system. Even their talented players, Cam Atkinson, Pierre-Luc Dubois, these other guys.
Dubois is good. I didn't realize how good Dubois has gotten already.
I love the exchange. Was it in Game 2 or 3? He's on the bench, and Torts comes over, and you can read his lips. He's like, You shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. And I think it was the next game he had his hat trick. Yeah, and he's big.
He can move.
He can skate. And I think he's one of those guys that Torts realizes, like, hey, when you have a firecracker up your ass, you can be one of the best players in the league. But when you're going through the motions, you're just like everyone else. Yeah. And so I think it's incumbent upon him to be up his ass on it. But Cam Atkinson, 2 goals, 3 assists, +4. He looked fast and good. One of the takeaways for me was Seth Jones looked really like he's stepping into that dominant defensive role.
Monster.
He was noticeable when he was out there.
Oh, yeah.
He can skate. He makes great plays with the puck. He averaged 29 minutes and 28 seconds per game, and that's the highest of any player in the playoffs so far. They really relied on him playing half the game almost. He looks great.
Yeah. Eating up minutes big time for them, and he makes it look easy too.
That's what good defensemen do.
He makes it look so easy out there. But I think Columbus is they're a team when I'm watching them, like, God, I wouldn't want to play against you guys. You're annoying.
Yes.
Hard forecheck, finishing every hit.
The ability to
just
frustrate.
Fuck off.
That Tessier guy looks really good. The guy that scored the second goal last night, the rookie Luke
Liam
Foudy, who Torch said has balls, big balls. He looks good. They do look like a scary team. I mean, Savard on the back end looked really good, right? Is it Savard? And Werenski. They're a team that you don't want to play, and Tampa probably shaking in their boots a little bit.
Think it's going to happen 2 years in a row?
I think the bigger story, though, guys, is that this Toronto team that just can't get it done. I mean, Austin Matthews had 6 points in the series, 2 goals. He was a +1. He had 27 shots on goal. Tavares was a -3, missed a wide open net.
Oh, God, that's going to haunt him.
In Game 5, he rang it off the post. You know, what is it with this Toronto team that just continues to disappoint?
I think they're relying too much on really young players, in my opinion. Like, we're talking about all of, like, aside from Tavares, I guess, they're all what, 3rd, 4th year in the league at most, maybe?
Yeah, most of their
About
important
there.
guys. I mean, they have olders sprinkled in, like Spezza, who was 4th line for
Yeah,
them, and
but I
some
mean-
older D, but yeah.
All their stars, I feel like this is like their 3rd year, maybe 4th year. I mean, now that I'm saying that out loud, I guess Sid, he came in 05, he won a cup in 09, but I feel like he had a little bit better of a veteran supporting cast, maybe.
He did.
Maybe I'm just fabricating this as I speak, but I don't know. I think they have a really good squad, but I don't see the buy-in on the defensive side of the puck currently. Although Austin Matthews did impress me with how good of a two-way player he is specifically, I just thought, generally speaking, like they're just not that hard to play against when they're in their end.
Yeah, well, I'm with you there. I think the one thing I noticed is they're too loose and they're too reliant upon their team scoring goals instead of preventing them. And, I think they need a stronger presence behind the bench, quite frankly. I know they had Babcock, but...
Well, not anymore.
I said had, and they made the switch.
So it was Babcock's fault.
It worked out pretty well, but I think they were rolling off that momentum of just, hey, we got a coaching change, we can play loose and things like that, which any group goes through when there's a coaching change, and that guy was a little bit of a control freak. I think you get a tactician in there that can get that group playing some better X's and O's hockey and get some more efficiency out of that group. I think you'll get them in a better place.
I mean, they definitely have holes in their lineup for sure. I think their D still needs a lot of work. And it didn't help, actually, them losing Tyson Barrie in Game 5 the way they did and losing Jake Muzzin for those last couple games because he was a big part of their defense. And then all of a sudden, you got to plug in whoever your 7th defenseman is. And Muzzin's a guy that ate a ton of minutes, usually played with Riley, I believe.
Guy at the snack bar.
And so... you take out one of your best defensemen, that's obviously going to set you back, and it seemed like it really hurt them because all of a sudden, you saw Game 3, they can't hold a 3-0 lead, end up losing that game. So there's definitely still places that they need to try to fill in, and there's also one of those things that they say, you're not a team that knows how to win until you actually do it. Like, as much as they've gotten a lot of experience now and they've gotten those playoffs games, they still haven't gotten out of the first round.
Yeah.
They just need to finally get over that hump and kind of do it. It's sort of the same way that for years everybody said Ovechkin and Backstrom and the Capitals, they're not winners. They can't even get out of the second round. And clearly they were good players, but they just couldn't get that breakthrough. And then maybe that's what it'll be for Toronto. All of a sudden they'll get through the first round and they'll just get on a run. But I don't know. It's tough to say what you do if you're Kyle Dubas and running the Leafs over there.
You really got to feel bad for Leafs fans. The last 15 seasons, missed playoffs, lost first round, missed playoffs, lost first round, lost play-in. It's tough to be a fan of the blue and white. But gentlemen, moving on to the Western Conference. Oh!
Yeah, don't break the mics.
What you got going on?
Is that the winner?
No, they're putting...
I was going to say, I think they're putting them in.
They're putting the lottery balls in right now.
So we
Just to give the listeners an idea of what's going on, as we record this, the draft lottery is airing right now. And so we don't know yet who has won, but maybe
I love that they're doing it live. This is the way it needs to be done. They got a guy handling the balls.
You love that, don't you?
The ball handling is very important.
Matt didn't blow out your eardrum with that. Oh, if you're still with us,
he did it to me. I don't know about everybody listening.
Well, gentlemen, out west now. arguably, I don't know, what was a bigger surprise? The Penguins losing to Montreal or the Edmonton Oilers dropping to the Chicago Blackhawks? 5 versus 12 out west. Only took 4 games, just like the Pittsburgh-Montreal series. But I don't think too many people saw that one coming.
No, and I think the bigger upset was definitely the Canadians, but at the same time, this was one where I think everybody looked at Draisaitl's year, looked at McDavid coming back healthy, and looked at an aging Blackhawks team and were like, okay, Oilers are going to cakewalk and get in the playoffs and make big things happen because Connor McDavid's the best player in the world, and all of a sudden they got Draisaitl too, who's putting up 100-plus points and dominating. And then the Blackhawks come and say, not so much. Lay their sack across their face.
They did.
Yeah. I agree that Montreal was the bigger upset because Chicago, it's still that veteran team and you've still got those important pieces there. And Corey Crawford got a little drink out of a fountain of youth. He had some impressive games. Jonathan Toews had himself a hell of a series. Dominic Kubalik, what a find that is for the Blackhawks. He had a great series. Obviously a fantastic game 1 with that 5-point game. But it was one of those things that in the first... It's funny, I talked about Game 1, Montreal-Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh came out flying, but Price was able to withstand the tide, and then they were able to eventually, win that game. In Chicago and Edmonton, Chicago came out that first 12 minutes and just punched them in the face, put up 4 goals, and all of a sudden Edmonton's like, what the fuck just happened? I thought they were supposed to be easy. And yes, they battled back, and there were some close games in there, but you got to give credit to the Blackhawks. They really dug down, and they were like, you know what? We may not be as good as this team on paper, but fuck that.
And in a best of 5, not a best of 7, in a quick run after a small training camp, they had the right tools and, like you said, enough veteran presence. I really like the young guys between Kubalik and Kirby Dach. They have some strong young talent there. And Dach's a guy that we almost never hear about very much anymore, but who continues to get it done is Brandon Saad. He plays such a solid game, had a couple big goals in that series that I can think of. And again, they could be a pain in the ass this second round. It'd be interesting to see what will happen. I mean, of course, you need to bank on Crawford having another big round. But
gentlemen, do we want to cut to the lottery live, or do we just want to keep talking?
We don't. No one's gonna be listening to us live.
Here's a point to that.
We're not delivering the news.
No fun, Brandon, of course. Strikes it down.
I think you were being curmudgeon, by the way.
I mean, touche. But I mean, by the time anyone hears it, they will know who the first overall pick is.
That's true. And it will be interesting to see what Chicago does next round, especially having to play Vegas. But, Edmonton, what the hell? Again.
Oh, the Rangers.
Yeah. Shit.
What? That's who they got.
Well, wait, are we talking about it?
No, we'll just react and move on.
No, these aren't. Is the last ball? I don't know. We need to move on. Predators, Coyotes, boys. Arizona taking this one. I know I had Nashville, although I did. This was the one series I said I could see it going either way.
Yeah, I had Nashville as well. I thought they're, more veteran team. They've been there before. Still have those great defensive pieces. Roman Josi, Ryan Ellis, Matthias Ekholm. But the goaltending and just the overall structure that Arizona was able to get, I mean, I thought that they deserved to win. There were definitely times where Nashville carried the play, but overall, when that series was over, I was like, you know what? I think the Coyotes earned that one. They should be moving on.
Definitely.
I'm with you there.
And I mean, spread that offense around. 11 different players scored goals in their 14 goals in 4 games. It was just an all-around. I felt like they had control of that series pretty much from game 1 on. I mean, of course, they lost one of them, but they looked pretty solid.
It was great to see. Didn't mean to cut you off there, man.
No, they definitely look inspired playing behind Rick Tocchet. Similar to Carolina, I think teams that play for those guys that were kind of like NHL studs, they've been there, they've done that. They look like an inspired group and a dangerous team to have to deal with, I think, in the next round for sure.
Yeah, and especially because sort of been the story of their whole season where they haven't gotten a lot of offense. They sort of just have to eke out the wins, even though they've got some dynamic players there with Kessel and Taylor Hall and Clayton Keller, but they get just enough offense to be able to get their way through to the first round. And they'll be in tough in their first round matchup now, but full credit to Rick Tocchet and that whole team, and I'm actually glad to see them get into the first round there, get some new blood out in the West.
Yeah, I mean, goals from 11 different players. A top to bottom effort from their team.
I was shocked to see how just non-threatening Nashville was across the board for being a real quality team. I thought Coyotes, I think, Rubio, you said, just carried the play most of the time. And like I reiterated, I'm happy for Rick Tocchet because he was someone that had a lot of ties with Pittsburgh and has moved on and is doing good things over there.
And he's a beauty.
A good motivator.
Yeah, I love his outfit on the bench, by the way.
Yeah.
Casual Friday.
I like that too, actually, the teams that have done that.
Yeah. Do on the range.
Don't need the suit. Just put the tracksuit on. You're good.
How about Taylor Hall and Ryan Ellis fighting? By the way,
No, yeah.
Not two guys that don't typically drop the mitts, and let alone, I know we actually had a blog piece on it. They played 3 seasons together, junior hockey.
Oh, really?
Won
Windsor.
2 back-to-back Memorial Cup championships. So, but hey, it's playoff time. No love lost. Playing.
I think it's still weird seeing Taylor Hall in an Arizona Coyotes jersey.
Well, you probably won't have to see it for much longer.
Don't get used to it.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing, and I'm not gonna lie. If I'm a GM, my brother was giving me the list of all the free agents coming up on Saturday night, and he's not a guy that I'm personally jumping at to get. Don't get me wrong. I think he's dynamic. I think he's very good. I personally think he's a little overrated, but
Definitely not someone that comes to mind at first as one of the top players, top 10, 15 players in the league. But
Which is funny because he won an MVP.
I was going to say,
2 years ago.
he does have an MVP. But I agree.
But Canucks Wild, gentlemen. I think did we all predict the Canucks on this one?
I think so.
This is my Western Conference lock.
Isn't that wild?
They look like a great team, of course.
They did.
Quinn Hughes, 6 points on the series. Pedersen, of course, looks great. They're a dangerous team.
Besser looked good. Yeah, overall.
JT Miller.
Yeah, JT Miller. Oh.
I will say that after the first game, I was a little worried because the Wild looked inspired.
Yeah.
And they kind of dominated game 1 in that series. But Vancouver came back and figured it out and got the job done.
Yeah, as I said on our last pod, I really like Vancouver at all the important positions. When you can look at Markstrom, Quinn Hughes, and Pedersen, I think you've got important strength right down the middle, and that's what you need to be successful in the playoffs. And especially when you get big contributions from Horvat and Miller and Besser, and even some of their third line type guys. I'm not a big Brandon Sutter fan, but I thought he had a couple good games, and Roussel. And so when you're getting those contributions all through the lineup, that's how you can overcome a Minnesota team that even is playing inspired the way that you said in that game 1.
I think a couple things that stood out for me. A couple of you guys touched on it, but JT Miller, I thought stood out every time he was on the ice, and really impressed me when I watched those Vancouver and Minnesota games. One thing concerning, I think, about Vancouver is between the pipes. I don't think Markstrom looked very strong. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but that could hurt them as they get late in the playoffs. But I agree. I thought they looked super sharp all over the place, and I feel about them the way I feel about Carolina in the East. Agreed. They're clicking.
No, gentlemen, I think the one series that we all selected last week is we expected to go 5 games and should have been one hell of a series to watch, a lot of excitement. Was a little bit, I don't know, what do you want to anticlimactic, maybe?
A little bit downer.
A little bit downer, right? Ended in 4 games. The Flames over the Jets. I mean, game 1, we got Scheifele, according to Paul Maurice, right? According to Paul Maurice, Kachuk purposely sliced Scheifele's leg. I don't think there's a chance in hell that's the case.
No, they're actually friends and they train together.
Yes, I did read that.
And also, I mean, come on, as he's coming in full speed like that, how is he last second angling his skate to do something like that.
I'm gonna slice this motherfucker's leg!
Right? I mean, just ridiculous. That said, maybe just Paul Maurice trying to get out in the media, get his boys going. They did have a great game too, with missing Scheifele and Laine, but not much they could do with those two guys missing from the lineup.
No. I mean, their team went as Connor Hellebuyck went, and he needed to really steal at least a game or two there, and he was, I think, just okay. He was not the level of great that he needed to be. And when you take out two of the most important pieces in Scheifele and Laine there, I just think they didn't have enough to beat a Flames team, which I'm really not even that impressed with. I thought they played well, actually. They are a solid team, but yeah, I think those injuries really, really hurt them, and it was just too much for Winnipeg to overcome.
You could see the excitement and momentum get sucked out of Winnipeg when those injuries happen. You know, especially the Scheifele one. And Kittle, I'm in full agreement with you of Hellebuyck needed to steal the series after that and steal games and just wasn't up for it. And kudos to the Flames because they had guys that produced. I thought they were solid up and down the lineup. And we'll see how they do come playoff time.
You know, Calgary with Matthew Tkachuk, he's one of those guys that you always know when he's on the ice. He's stirring shit up. You know, you have the coach talking about him after the game. He's even the other coaches.
It's like a Marchand kind of in that
exactly.
sense.
It's like the other kind of player I think of. He does a really good job at his job, and he drives that team. And they're another team that they scored 16 goals in 4 games and got goals from 11 different players. So they're top to bottom, getting good depth scoring, which is what you like to see. So yeah, good on the Jets or the Flames taking that one.
One of the two.
Yeah, it's probably not worthwhile actually discussing who beat who, but round robin, quick recap. In the West.
As we get to those, let me just say, I was severely disappointed at the quality of play in the round robin compared to the qualifier games. Like, yeah, there's something on the line compared to one or the other, but man, the round robin games kind of looked like a scrimmage every now and then.
They clearly were using them as exhibition games
Yeah,
because they were giving guys days off, and they're like, oh, look at this. It seems Ben Bishop and John Klingberg and Tyler Seguin are unfit to play. Just
Getting massages in the dressing room.
So, not the highest level of play, and I think some of that was reflected in the results because the teams with the 2 best records didn't win a single round robin game.
Right?
Well, the best records for the regular season.
Yeah, so regular season. Out west, the Blues finished last, so they'll be the 4th seed. Stars second to last. Golden Knights took number 1 out west, with Colorado right behind them. And the East, Flyers number 1. Oh, man, I regret to say they look good.
I don't like it.
The Lightning number 2. Capitals went 1-1-1 for 3rd, and the Bruins, they looked pretty shitty.
Yeah. So how much do you guys take out of this? Is it any indication of what's to come? I know earlier when we were talking about the Bruins, I noted that they look like shit.
Yeah.
I didn't think the Capitals looked particularly great. Flyers look awesome. Do you think that's a sign of things to come, or just kind of like a preseason exhibition type effort?
I mean, I think you give it a little bit of attention, but it's not the be-all, end-all. Like, the Bruins are still going to be competitive, obviously. I don't think they're going to roll over and go winless or anything like that. But, maybe this 5 months off really hurt them more than some other teams. They have an older veteran squad. They got Chara, the oldest player in the league, and some other guys that have been there for a long time. And maybe this layoff and playing games in August, it's just, I don't know. It's tough to get back up to that, top speed and really hitting their stride the way that they were through most of the season, where they were finely tuned and weren't given a whole lot up defensively. And through these games, it just looked off throughout the whole time. Even if it was at times exhibition speed or whatever, it still just looked a little bit off. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe once the games are real and everybody's intensity jumps up, they'll snap back into it. But it'll be interesting to see.
I think the Flyers are, like I said already, I think they looked pretty legit, and I think what they showed is what they're going to be bringing to the playoffs. I almost wonder, is there a disadvantage to these teams kind of taking that approach compared to playing these teams that have been now for over a week dialed in straight up playoff hockey? Like, they are in that mindset.
Yeah.
They're playing that style. This is not their first game where all of a sudden it's like, hey boys, turn it on and turn it up. We got to go today. They're in that mode.
And the momentum. It's hard to argue against the fact that Columbus had a lot of momentum coming into their series.
Yeah, feeling good about yourself, win the series. Where these guys just played around the exhibition, who really gives a shit.
I think that's totally legit. I think it's going to take these guys a game or two to get into it. Good that they have 7 games to figure it out. But I think that's a totally legitimate thing. And maybe it's good on the teams that did well, that maybe they were putting their best effort forth.
I was thinking about this. It reminds me of another major sport here, the NFL and their playoffs, where they have the 1 and 2 seeds sit out. And a lot of times what happens is they get cold, and you get those teams that are the 6th, the 5th, the 4th seed playing that weekend before. Then they get hot, they make a run towards the Super Bowl. Very similar, I think, you're going to see here is a lot of these teams that were in that qualifying round really be the teams that push these teams that were kind of skating through free skate with these round robins and things like
holding
that.
Hands.
Yeah, holding hands.
Slow down, no racing.
Well, I think with that in mind, it's time to make some predictions. Put your money where your mouth is. On round number 1 of
Go ahead, test me.
Stanley Cup Playoffs. We want to start East or West, gentlemen?
West.
West?
Yeah, let's go West.
All right, Vegas, Chicago. I'll give my 2 cents first, just because I say. I'm going Vegas in 6, although I think Chicago.
Doing games too?
Pardon?
Number of games too?
Yeah, why not? I'm going Vegas in 6. I think Chicago's going to be hard to play against, but I really, really like Vegas. Love the way they're built from top to bottom in that lineup, and I could see them potentially hoisting a cup here at the end of this playoffs. But just making round 1 predictions right now. So Vegas over Chicago, 6 games. Kittle?
I got the same. I like Vegas for all the reasons you stated. I think they're deep. I think they've got everything that you need to be a legitimate cup contender. And as good as Chicago did play in knocking out the Oilers, I just think the Golden Knights are going to have a little too much for them. So I have Vegas in 6.
I've actually got Vegas in 7. But I do wonder, are you going to see with Chicago something similar that you happened with like the Pens in 2017, where you get that veteran group mixed in with the young guys, and all of a sudden you got that young excitement, the veteran presence that's been there, maybe they make a run.
Yep.
Although, I tell you what, take the over in this fucking series, because I think there's going to be some goddamn goals scored on both sides of the ice, but I got Vegas in 7.
I'm going Vegas in 5. I think they're just a little too much to handle for Chicago. I love their young talent, but I think that Chicago might win maybe even the first game of the series, but I think they'll get 1 and then Vegas will overcome.
All right, Avalanche versus the Coyotes, 2 versus 7 here. Who wants to lead us off?
Okay. So this is actually, I think, the series in the West I'm most excited about, because I really like Colorado as a team. I think they're very strong. And I was impressed with what we saw at Arizona against Nashville. And especially because I think Colorado's biggest strength is their offense, whereas Arizona's is clearly their defense. So it'll be interesting to see who can finally come out ahead in that battle. But I think at the end of the day, Colorado's going to have just too much offense, and they do have good goaltending and defense as well. And so I think that carries the day, and I went Avalanche in 5.
Gus?
I'm with Kits, but I think just for different reasons, I think it's going to be a little lopsided. I think that Arizona's going to come in and be excited and stuff like that, but Colorado is a different beast than Nashville, and I think they're going to really disrupt them. And I'm going to say clean sweep in 4.
Ooh, wow.
No respect for the disrespect.
I'm going to go Colorado in 7. I really like the way that Arizona's playing. They're an inspired group. They have a great coach. They got some momentum here. This is the one series where I'm really rooting for a team. I'd love for Colorado to win. I love their team. I want them to advance. I'd hate for Arizona to win this series. But I'm going Colorado in 7.
I'm going Colorado in 6. I'm between 5 and 6 here. Same reasons. I mean, I'd just be echoing you guys. Strong team. Love what the Coyotes are doing right now, but I don't think they'll have enough. Now, on to another series that I think is going to be pretty interesting. Dallas Stars versus the Calgary Flames. Want to lead us off, guys?
Yes, I do. This is one where I start to go against maybe what the rankings are, and I'm taking Calgary in 6. And I think they've got a lot of the momentum factor coming in. And Dallas is just not very impressive to me. And yeah, they finished the regular season in a good spot. They've done decent in the round robin, but at the same time, Calgary, I think, is hitting all cylinders, and they're going to be tough to keep off the scoreboard, so I got Calgary in 6.
I hate to agree with Custer. I actually really hate it, but I went Calgary in 7. I think Dallas, it's funny because they're built to be a playoff team in terms of they play strong defense, and that's what they rely on. Defense and goaltending. Like Ben Bishop was lights out for them last year, almost carried them to the Cup final.
Yep.
And certainly he could do that again. But their offense just still seems to be sort of lost in the wilderness. Like even their big guns didn't have the greatest years and aren't producing the way that they have in the past. And I think Calgary might just be a little bit of a more well-rounded team. And it'll definitely be close. I could see it going either way, but you know what? I'm going to go with the Flames instead.
All right, I think this one will go 7, but I'm going to go the opposite way. I like Dallas in 7. Love their defense. I think they have the nod at goaltending. So this is a coin flip in my mind, but I'm going to go with Dallas.
I agree with you, more or less a coin flip, but I'm going to go Calgary, but I'm going to go in 6. I just think there's going to be a couple one-goal games, but Cam Talbot has played, how do I want to put it, better than he needs to for Calgary, better than expected. I think if he can continue that trend, he'll be good against Dallas, considering how good their offense has been defensively. So, all right, 4 versus 5 out west. St. Louis Blues versus the Vancouver Canucks. Maddie, you're leading us off.
Yeah, this is the series that I'm most excited about.
Yes.
You guys know how much I love Vancouver. St. Louis, the defending champs.
Weird.
Great hockey team. Great hockey team.
Some would call it a fetish.
I don't know, man. This one has me kind of twisted. I really want Vancouver to win. I'm excited about their team, but I just think St. Louis, having done it, having that experience, XYZ, I like St. Louis in 6.
Cuz?
See, I think St. Louis is one of these teams that's going to suffer, and I got Vancouver in 5.
Ooh, wow.
Vancouver is one of these teams, like I said, on Carolina and the East, just really impressive. If you sat down and watched some of their games, just really impressive. And I have a hard time believing that St. Louis is going to come and be that sharp. So I got Canucks in a short series, dethroning the champs.
Again, it makes me so sad to hear Cuthbert say that. Because I do think this is going to be a very close series. I like both these teams. I already talked about what I like about the Canucks earlier. St. Louis, obviously the defending champs, brought back most of their team. Very impressive in all 3 zones. But I see this being a 7-game series, and you know what? St. Louis, they got all the bounces last year, all the magic, everything was going their way. I think the coin turns on them this year, and I see Vancouver in 7.
I love those predictions, I really do. And I could maybe see it happening. But I'm going St. Louis in 6 on this one. I think that puck drops for the real playoffs for them. They're going to put it on another level, and I love Ryan O'Reilly, as a leader. I think they'll have the boys ready, and they were clicking prior to pre-COVID days. I do know that was a while ago.
Yeah, fucking years ago.
But I like St. Louis on this one. St. Louis in 6. All right, boys. Out east, Philly versus the Canadians. I shall go first again. I'm going Philly in 5 here. Maybe 4, but I'll go 5. Great what you did in the play-in series halves, but I don't think that's going to cut it against Philadelphia, who was flying pre-COVID days years ago, but is truly been flying ever since they've been back for that round robin. So I think it'll be a short series. I think Philly's preparing for maybe one of their best efforts for a deep playoff run coming up this year, maybe.
Yeah, agreed. Actually, my wife asked me the other day, she's like, is Philly actually good? Like, are they really a good team? I was like, as much as I don't want to admit it, yeah, they are. Like, they actually have a lot of really good pieces. The biggest one being Carter Hart, that they now have a legit, really, really good goaltender.
Yeah.
And
After literally trying every other goalie in Philly.
yes, pretty much. What did they have? 8
Yes,
last
that one
year or
year.
whatever? Yeah,
Yes.
it's ridiculous. But I think Montreal, even though, hey, good for you, upsetting the Pens, they played a great effort. I don't think they're a good team. I said Philly in 4.
See, I'm with you that I don't think the Canadians are a good team, but what you're going to see is what happens when a bunch of average players actually beat a good team and the belief factor that goes into it when they have good coaching. Because Claude Julien knows what the hell he's doing, and he's going to
That's
start
right.
the game plan against Philly. I'm not saying the Canadians are going to win, but I got Philly in 7 because of that factor. And I think the Philly fans are going to find, and players are going to find themselves overwhelmed in the first couple games. I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadians went up 2-0 before the Flyers got their shit together and end up just their star power taking over.
I'm going Philly in 6. I think Carey Price will steal a game. I think maybe Montreal will have a game where a couple of the young guns play well. But Philly in 6. Better team.
All right, boys. Repeat of last year's first round. Just a series that Tampa would love to pretend never happened, but Tampa Bay playing the Columbus Blue Jackets first round of the 2020 NHL Playoffs after last year getting swept after having like a record-breaking President's Trophy season. Kids?
So, I mean, just clearly on paper, Tampa Bay has probably the best team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it scares me that they might not have Stamkos, and Hedman looked like he fucked up his knee or ankle or something in their last game, non-contact, went down, and you could see how pissed he was when he destroyed his stick going off the ice. Like, and usually when you see a guy do that, it's because they know this isn't a couple days, this is a serious, I fucked myself up. And so that scares me, no Hedman, and how good Columbus looked against Toronto. Despite all that, I'm still going to go ahead and hitch my wagon to the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think 6 games, they end up the winners of this series. Just so much talent up and down that lineup, even without potentially Stamkos and Hedman. So Lightning, come on, get your shit together.
It's funny because you said that the Lightning were trying to, go ahead and forget last year, and I think Columbus is going to come in and be like, I'm here to remind you. But I see this one going distance, but I'm with you. I see Tampa Bay pulling it out regardless about who's in their lineup just because they were completely embarrassed last year. And if you're not going to get the full team buying in this year, when the hell are you?
So what's your pick?
Tampa in 7. You put it down.
Yeah. So if you're Tampa, you gotta love this. Because, redemption, baby. This is what I signed up for. This is what I like. I don't know, if I were on Tampa and I had my shot next year, I'd want to play the team that I sucked against. So I think that Tampa's going to get over the hump here. And I like Tampa in 6.
I regret to say I'm with you guys on this one. Although I think it's going to be a hell of a battle. It's going to go 7 games. I think Tampa's going to pull it out. And I do think if they get past this first round, could be an interesting playoff for them. Just a reminder, too, all the playoff rounds this year are being reseeded, correct?
Correct.
I didn't make that up. So it's not like they're in a set bracket
Nope.
kind of thing. So just throwing that out there.
Little disclaimer for brand new. It's not the Wake Up North podcast.
Good plan. Tampa in 7. All right, Capitals, New York Islanders. Is there any chance that the Islanders can pull this out, or they just bore the Capitals to death on them?
Yeah, I'll go first on this one. I'm going to take the Islanders.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm going Islanders in. I'm going Islanders in 6 on this one. I think that just based on how Washington looked in the round robin and the momentum that the Islanders have, they're a young, confident group, and I think they believe in their system. Might be a little bit outlandish. You guys might not agree with me, but I'm going Islanders in 6.
We don't have to agree with you, Matt. That's the beauty of it. And I don't. The Capitals are just a much better team. On the I look forward to Barry Trotz. You eat this a lot, like. I have to check the film for that one. But the other part of it is, like Tampa Bay, they are just such a better team. They're so stacked up and down the lineup. Washington is, and I think they're going to come in. You're going to see Ovi do what he does, which is score just about every game, and maybe multiple per game. And I think Washington are going to take them down in 6.
So this is the Barry Trotz revenge series because him going back, playing against the Capitals, who refused to pay him like the great coach that he is, and the Islanders, as boring as they are to watch, they are effective. And Trotz is great at getting a 10-pound bag of shit to feel as heavy as a 20-pound bag of shit. And so I think that's what he's doing with the Islanders. And the other factor, I will agree with Custrin that the Capitals are the much better team overall. But Braden Holtby has not had a good year and has looked a little off all this season. And Samsonov has actually been their better goalie. I don't think is available. I'm pretty sure he's hurt.
Got
not
hurt
with
in
them.
an ATV accident.
Is that how it happened?
Over the summer.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying Snow, yes. Got hurt.
Yes, terrible. But
You got to test the material.
Hey, let's throw it out there, you know?
I could see the goaltending ending up being the difference in this one, and I have the Islanders squeaking out a 7-game series win.
You guys are crazy. I mean, I like you, but you're crazy. I'm going Capitals in 6. Oh, you said that?
Yeah,
That scares me a little bit, but I do agree with you. I don't think they'll be able to contain the Capitals up front, so. Probably the most exciting series out east.
Agreed.
The last series, 4 versus 5.
I think the best one overall.
Boston Bruins versus Carolina Hurricanes. Alright, you asked me pre-COVID, this is the playoff series. I don't really think twice, even though I have a lot of respect for the Carolina Hurricanes. You asked me this now after the play-in series, got round robin, and it's a lot harder decision to make right now.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I do. Because I'm taking the team. I'm not going to tell you right off the bat. But I'm taking the team that really impressed me in the first round. And
That could
then
be anybody.
it's Carolina Hurricanes in 5. Wow. Against Boston. Because I think Boston's going to come in snoozing. I think Carolina's going to come in just on a high. I think you're going to continue to see guys like Aho and Svechnikov put up points and dominate. And also a strong play from Mrazek, like that we didn't really talk about, but it got 100% contributed to them winning. And I got Carolina in 5.
Who do you think is sneaking all the drugs into the bubble? They're coming in on high?
The concierge surgery.
Yeah, his name is Jose, and they're not allowed to tell the last name.
I thought it was Samson.
Samson?
You didn't hear about the concierge service that everybody in the bubble has, right? Because basically they're not allowed to leave, but they want to make this as comfortable as possible. So if they need, I believe it said anything within reason, that they have a number to call and they can go get them like clothes or food or who knows what else.
Jerk off. Hey, is this the concierge? I got a hard on this one, go away.
He said something.
I
want to get a little more specific with who they said no.
Right now, it doesn't matter. It's close to game time. Get anybody up here.
Saw a nice maid with some white gloves on the 3rd floor. If you could send her.
Put Gritty's head on him and just send him in.
Tapping the Claude's roots fancies.
Fetishes are really coming out tonight.
But anyway, back to hockey talk. So I think, like I said, this is going to be the best series of the first round. Both these teams, very, very good, well coached, good offense, defense, goaltending, anywhere you want to look. Like you can sort of push this one way or the other. But the Hurricanes, very impressive, as we've already talked about. Boston, I think they do end up getting together, and all these games are going to be close. But unfortunately, I'm agreeing with Custrin, and I got the Hurricanes. I got them in 7 games, though.
You've done a lot of fucking agreeing with
I know, I don't like it at all. I think you looked at my picks. That's my theory.
Now you want to go or
Yeah, one team is 0-3 in the last 3. One team's 3-0 in the last 3. riding momentum. They're definitely clicking as a unit. Carolina, I'm telling you, I think might be the Eastern Conference representative in the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm going Carolina in 6.
Well, you're a hell of a statistician, Matt. But I think you're incorrect. Although I think Carolina, they're going to make it tough. I think Boston's going to be able to dig in there. And Rasmussen? Yeah, how do you play that?
Halak started their first game.
Is he Vezina finalist? Am I making this up?
So our goaltending is not really important in the playoffs.
Rasmus is the finalist.
I don't know. I think they're gonna find a way to do it. Totally in agreement, though. I think Carolina is definitely winning game 1, maybe game 2. But the boys will rally. A lot of experience in that lineup. Excuse me. And I really want to see David Pastrnak turn it up and get back to where he was before pre-COVID days when he was just lighting the lamp left and right. Boy, before we get to weekly picks,
So what was how many games?
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't say games today. I'm going Boston 7.
All right. Okay. So do we want to actually make a Stanley Cup prediction now that we have the official field of 16 teams? We don't need to go each time, but let's at least give our final and who's going to win.
Go ahead, kids. Sounds like you're ready.
Yeah, I'll leave it up.
So it's your fucking idea and your question out there.
Well, this was my pick before the season started, so I'm not going to change now. I think the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be hoisting the Stanley Cup, but I actually agree with what Matt said before, and I think the Hurricanes represent the East, so I have Golden Knights over the Hurricanes for the Stanley Cup.
I like it. Cuss?
I'm going to go off the reservation.
That's where you live. It's off the reservation.
Get some ideas, come back and report them to you. And my idea is it's going to be the Carolina Hurricanes, it's going to be the Vancouver Canucks.
Wow.
I love that pick.
And who's
Mark
winning?
it down. We don't have to pick a fucking winner, you have to pick a winner.
I just said pick the winner.
Carolina.
Wow. Heard your first, folks. Matt, you want me to go? I'll go. You want to go?
I'll go.
All right.
I like Colorado out of the E or West.
They're the West. They are the West.
The E West.
50% Jim.
Colorado and Carolina. And I like Colorado. I think they're going to win this.
This is like 3 Carolina predictions for me. I thought I'd be off on my own.
So I predicted St. Louis and Tampa before the season started. Regretfully, I can't stick with either of those teams right now. I'm going with Vegas. I just love what they're doing. And oh man, it pains me so much to say it, but I think Philadelphia might represent the East. And I'll be real pissed if they ever win a Stanley Cup in my lifetime. I'm going Vegas. Well, we didn't say, you guys didn't say Vegas over Philly.
Do you guys remember what your picks were for Stanley Cup Final at the beginning of the year?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, mine's embarrassingly bad. What was yours?
Yeah, mine's bad. It was the Penguins defeating the Predators.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I had Vegas over Tampa.
Yeah. I think I had Toronto beating San Jose.
Oh, yeah.
San Jose's been off for like 8 months.
That was not a good one.
Gentlemen, do we know the number 1 pick?
Yes, we do.
We do.
Yeah, it's
And it goes to.
I think it's a great team. New York Rangers.
Yeah. After they just got a nice lottery win last year, getting Kako Kappa, or sorry, flip that. They end up with a huge win this year, jumping all the way up, and can now add Alexei Lafreniere to the lineup. Pretty great for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that I think there really benefits from this. Young talent up front. They have a young goalie who's going to be a stud.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew D'Angelo on the back end, young
Tony
stud. Or Tony D'Angelo. Tony Matthew D'Angelo. But, I mean, you're a Rangers fan. It's good for the league that he goes to a major market like that.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, good for them.
And the Rangers are an up-and-coming team with a lot of their young pieces they put into place, and Artemi Panarin, obviously huge, bringing him in as well. I could see a lot of the other teams being pissed off that he's going to the Rangers, but I'm pretty happy that it was not Edmonton or Toronto. I obviously would have loved if it was Pittsburgh. I could see people being pissed at that even. But, you know, the Rangers, not a terrible spot for him to land. He's not going to have to be their best player right away, so I think he can come along at a better pace.
I agree. I think it's interesting that it's the Rangers. But what springs to mind right away is they better save some money for a center. Because who the hell is going to play down the middle for them? They got a whole bunch of fantastic all-world wingers. They better get somebody to play down the middle.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they put him with. He could legitimately play with Kakko, and they have Zibanejad and Strome in the middle.
I know they like Hedl a whole lot at center. He's still got a...
He's a stud. He scored a couple goals this year that shows, and he's young. He's super young.
No, as long as he keeps developing, he could definitely be their number 2 center.
But yeah, look out. I mean, these guys are Adam Fox. People rave about him and how good he is.
He is good. Yeah.
And obviously the goalie.
You know, they say you build a dynasty through your wingers.
Who does that? No, they don't.
I want to comment on the draft lottery because we were obviously watching it as we were speaking earlier, but really cool how they actually did it. It was the way that Matt has been saying he wanted it to be done, where we literally got to watch as the lottery ball went ahead and popped up. But smart on the league, I think, to go ahead and do it that way.
Why do you think they chose to do it that way for this one and not for the previous ones?
So actually, what's interesting, I did see on the broadcast that it looked like the GMs from all the teams were just on Zoom calls because they probably didn't want to fly them in to wherever they were actually doing the lottery. So it might have actually been because of the COVID world that we're living in that they were like, you know what, we'll just do it live on the air. Like everybody will be able to see it. It'll be fun.
I'm watching it a little bit. We didn't have the volume on, but I think they could have been a little bit more suspenseful about it, like almost like
Some graphics on there, you know?
What was the one
CGI?
What was the one show where like you pick you pick a card and you're trying to
Press, right?
Deal or no deal?
I don't know. It could have been like it could have cut to a commercial break, or they could have revealed it slowly, and it was just kind of. And even when we were watching it, we weren't sure if it was necessarily the winner or not. But
I was perplexed by it.
I think I'm glad he's not going to Florida or Winnipeg. No one likes Florida.
So besides Edmonton or Toronto, where would have been the worst spot for him to go?
In terms of what?
Well, you said you didn't want Florida or Winnipeg. I'm assuming that's because you never see those teams. Is that
I mean, I think you want your studs to play in like awesome hockey markets, and New York is a great one. So I think that's a really good choice. I thought Minnesota would have been great as well.
It's funny because none of these are like awful markets at the end of the day.
No. The only thing that would have been, I think, like complete justice is if he actually would have gone to Winnipeg, because apparently it was their spot that ended up winning as the placeholder team. Like if you just would have done a straight, all right, these are the 15 teams in the lottery, it was the Jets that would have ended up with Lafreniere when they did it the first time around. So they're shitty looking too.
Sounds like excuses losers make.
I just feel though if it would have went to Edmonton or Pittsburgh, like they would have lit the NHL offices on fire.
No, they would have been so.
I mean, it would have been ridiculous.
Especially Edmonton.
I'm happy it's at least going to a team that, Edmonton and Pittsburgh at this point, we expect them to be in the first round. Hell, a lot of people expect them to be competitive maybe into a couple rounds or even the finals kind of thing. So I'm happy it's going to a squad that could use a little more help up front rather than stacking a squad that already has them. Let alone maybe giving them to Detroit. Should Detroit just probably get top 5 prospects just because?
They should just be able to pick people up whenever they want, regardless of what time of the year it is.
No age limits either.
No age limits, just ask somebody to pick them up.
All right, well, NHL action starts tomorrow.
Hey, you play hockey? Yeah. You want to play with the Red Wings?
I got some free candy.
Sure. Little Giants. Do you know what hockey is? No. You ever play hockey? No. Great. You can play for our team.
Well, round one starting tomorrow, boys, we had to get the weekly picks back up and going. Which
I guess we just had to.
we had to, especially
Son of a
after that
bitch.
piss poor showing you had last week.
Yes.
I couldn't even find it.
Yes. Couldn't find him. What do you mean? Oh,
I couldn't find him on the list.
Yes, thank
Put
you.
that is so far down. Hard.
I'm sorry that we're striking scores.
Yes.
But we must. It's part of the show.
Oh, bless you.
As a reminder to our listeners, we played.
I'm a bad loser. Listeners, I'm a bad loser.
And you'd think you'd be used to it by now.
Right.
But nonetheless, you can either download the Hockey Players Club app or go to thehockeyplayersclub.com/weekly-picks to play our little weekly picks game. This week we got 9 questions to predict NHL action. Boys, last week, numero uno, first time ever, I will,
First
you
time
guys
ever,
chirp,
the right part of that.
you guys chirp prior, because Schwartz had a win one time, I think Gibbs had a win one time. This guy's on the board for a win last week, 32 points.
I think something shady going on, right? Let me tell you why.
Yeah, no one
That's the genius behind it. Because he could have did it the first couple times he was picking the questions, but now he does it about 56 weeks in. No one thinks twice.
No one suspects it.
He's sweating over there. Look, there's some perspiration on the brow.
My mustache.
Yeah, it was good showing by you. Good to see some first-time players in the top 10. Dylan Timmons, Vlad Eustace, Jeremiah Toon. The more players, the bigger the accomplishment. So if you think you know hockey, get on there and let's rip it up.
Prove it.
But yeah, and then for just a reminder to the winner for the playoffs, the playoff winner is getting a free twig, a free hat, a free beanie, accessory bag, hockey tape, laces, stick flags. Pretty good deal.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
Right?
Major round option.
From the partridge?
I mean, who's not taking that option? I don't understand. But as we always do, guys, we got to predict. So 3 of the 9 questions. I'm throwing a 5-pointer out there first. Wednesday night, who's going to combine for the most points? Custer, I'm coming to you first.
Okay.
We got Backstrom and Kovalchuk playing the Islanders. Landeskog and Burakovsky versus the Coyotes. Konechny and Van Riemsdyk versus the Hurricanes. Perron and Bozak versus the Canucks. Or Horvat and Virtanen versus St. Louis. And what team do they play for?
No, what I'm going to go for is Landeskog and Burakovsky against the leaky faucet that is Kemper.
He's pretty damn good. He brought him a league.
I'm kidding, but they're going to do it. He did well. He did. What is he, your cousin? Why didn't you take it personally?
What kind of league faucet? Like, lets in goals or he's got the clap?
Both.
Alright. Kittle?
At least the former.
Sounds like a rough situation for him.
How do you get the clap in the bubble? I mean, I guess it goes around there.
They're not preventing the clap. They're testing for the clap.
Avoid the Jimmy Dugan. It's good advice.
Wait, I thought it goes up my nose.
There's only so many hookers they can get through the bubble.
I went with Konechny and Van Riemsdyk, even though the app incorrectly says they're playing Carolina. I think against Montreal. Then Philly's going to come out Wednesday night, and those two are going to have a good shot.
Real dick to wait till we're on air.
Just going to say that.
For sure. Schwartz?
I'll go Konechny and Van Riemsdyk as well.
Do you know who they're playing?
Montreal.
Not Carolina.
Well,
Konechny's a stud.
very good.
He is. I actually went with Cuss on this one, Landeskog and Burakovsky. Kittle, coming to you first with 3 points. Which game will have the largest margin of victory on Friday? The Canucks versus the Blues, the Islanders versus the Capitals, or the Stars versus the Flames?
I went Vancouver, St. Louis, Islanders and Caps. I think that's going to be a little tighter of a game and series overall. Same with Dallas and Calgary. I could see Vancouver, St. Louis getting a little out of hand one way or the other.
I went with Dallas and Calgary because I could see somebody getting up and the other team just fucking giving up. Man.
I'm going to go Dallas and Calgary. A lot of those Calgary Jets games were 4-3 goal differential. I see that series going the same way.
I'm with Kits on this one. Vancouver, St. Louis for me. Largest margin victory. All right, 2-pointer. How many goals we scored in the Bruins versus Hurricanes game on Saturday. Less than 5.5, more than 5.5, gentlemen. Schwartzy, the gambling guru. Who you got?
I don't think anyone's ever called him that.
Hey, first time for everything. I think that, so we talked last week about whether it was more difficult for goalies or shooters coming back. And I was the one that said it was more difficult for shooters and it was easier for the goalies, and everyone disagreed with me. The under hit, I think, 20 out of 22 games in the, and 5.5 is a pretty standard over-under for the NHL. It seems like these are pretty low-scoring affairs, so I'm going to ride that way and go less than 5.5.
No, Sam, I had the under picked, and I just think between Raskin, net, and Carolina's system being, defensive base shutting teams down, I got the under.
Agreed. You guys stole my points. I said under.
I got some easy points on my own. I'm going over, boys. Vancouver is going to light it up. Aho, Carolina, Svechnikov. I don't know, they're going to do something crazy. Maybe another cross-style goal here. But I'm going over.
Gentlemen, we're all super impressed.
Well, it's start of the NHL playoffs. What more can you ask for?
And it's going to be awesome because they're playing in the bubbles. You've got 4 games a day, every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes they overlap a little bit, but for the most part, they're spread out so that you can sit your fat ass on the couch, Custrin, and just watch the
Use those vacation days.
I think games start at 3, if I'm not
It
mistaken.
sort of varies from day to day. I saw a couple random noons. I think those were mostly on the weekends, but on the weekdays, I think you're right, they start at 3.
I mean, serious question. Do you think, assuming we get back to normal, whatever the new normal is in the next year or two, will they maybe even consider having playoff days like this, where they're going from 3 on instead of, normal playoffs? At some point, I need to decide, am I going to watch, which West Coast game am I going to watch? There's 2 different games that start at 10:30. There's 2 different games that start at 7:30 or whatever the start time is. I wonder if they might consider staggering it like this and go more of a, especially because by this point, normal times we're in May, June, so we are in summertime. They almost adopt a baseball kind of schedule where you have these afternoon games.
They might.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously the biggest hindrance to that is the fact that they want to hold their games at night after people are done working for attendance purposes. But you're right, baseball is exactly what I was thinking of. Baseball in their first round, they hold afternoon games, and guess what? People still show up because playoff sports, people make arrangements. They take a half day. They take a long lunch and actually walk over to the stadium or whatever it is. So I think they could absolutely have some of these earlier start games, and attendance I don't think is going to be an issue.
Especially if they started at 3 o'clock locally.
True.
Right? I mean, that's, for most people, that's taking off work an extra, 2 hours of the day.
Yeah.
Maybe an hour for some. So,
I like it.
I think the viewership has been better than I expected. It is cool to see that they're pumping crowd noise. Like after a whistle, there's a little fight.
Yeah.
And the NHL is putting fan noise in. But it's basically encouraging fighting after the whistle.
Okay, whoever's doing that is pretty on top of their
I guess
shit.
it will work
it's
with
awesome.
EA Sports.
So, yeah, I actually...
And,
here you go.
yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I read an article about, so there's one guy in each building that's in charge of the crowd noise. And so he's just got a little soundboard in front of him, and it is the noise from EA Sports. And originally they were just putting it into the broadcast so that you could hear it at home, but then they tried it in the arena, and the players said they liked it better because it gave it a little more atmosphere. But they do have to be on top of their shit because they are reacting in real time to whatever's happening. Now, granted, you can anticipate, there's a 2-on-1, there might be a goal. Where's the button for everybody yelling? But yeah, those guys are on top of their game, and if they're even a little off, it's very noticeable. There was a goal in one of the games where it went in and you weren't sure at first if it actually got across the line, so there was a bit of a delay before you hit the button. But yeah, those guys on top of their shit, and I kind of like it. Gives it a little more atmosphere.
That's because the guys up in the booth going, yeah, the crowd noise, yeah, that's me down there. What? Oh, shit!
The one thing that they are not doing that I kind of wish they were is there's no booing or no negative reactions whatsoever. Now, I heard that was a directive from the NHL. They were basically, with the crowd noise, treat these as their neutral site games. So cheering for goals. You're not really going to get boos or anything like that. But if one team's designated the home team, then you know what? Fuck it. Do it like they're the home team. When there's a penalty against Philly in their first game against the Canadians, then make it so that they're all booing like they would if you were actually in Philadelphia. Hell, get a guy to go up against the glass and pull his dick out like they would probably do that.
Really? Well, there's a lot of middle ground.
I think it's been cool that they played sort of like the songs that would be played at a particular team's home game.
Oh, yeah,
Like
goal
great
songs,
cheer
yeah.
noises. They change all the boards, which is a pretty cool little thing.
Yep.
There's a lot of inside the bubble content that the NHL I think has actually done a really good job of. So I think it's definitely been a success and a good thing.
Agreed.
And anyone that said that it was a silly decision, especially considering the health of all the players to this point.
No
they got to
positive
be eating their
tests.
crow.
Yeah, go ahead and look at the MLB if you think this was a silly decision.
Yeah.
Hey, and on a wrap-up note, I've gotten a couple questions out on the streets. And people want to know, when are you going to be ready for Win Kyle's money? Because I heard you're what's holding it up.
I didn't hear that.
We don't know. To be determined.
Come next week, we might just be ready.
Might be. All I know is I wish the people that were doing the crowd noises had a little Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboard action.
Tuma!
Yeah. Who is your father and what does he do? You ever do that back in the day?
Here's another Tuma!
I mean, that was like one of my favorite things to do my last year junior.
I'm not helping you with you.
Yeah, we prank call people with the Arnold Schwarzenegger call board. It'd be great.
On that note, raise them high, gentlemen. Another successful outing. Everybody, make sure you find us for the next podcast. Thanks for listening.